His Royal Highness Prince Faisal, it's a pleasure to have you on and to actually speak to you and to discuss a wide array of topics. I guess first thing, is how are you, just in general, being in this environment right now?
Well, first, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here talking to you. Pleasure to have you here in Saudi at this event. If I'm being completely honest, I'm always very conflicted at this event. One, it's a pleasure and an honor having everybody here, having these conversations, which we've really made a point to try and push the envelope and have difficult conversations. But this also means it's nearing the end of our event, our Gamers 8, which we've been working on specifically for 2 months, but behind the scenes for about 6 months. So it's a sad, glad moment. Very happy to be getting to the end of it, but also very sad that it's coming to an end, and trying to figure out what I do with my days after this for at least a week is a bit of a catch-up. But no, it's exciting. And seeing what's happening here, not just in Saudi, but regionally, and the growth and the movement towards the future, I think is something that's very exciting.
Well, I do want to talk about Gamers 8 as a whole. Obviously, like you said, it's an 8-week event. It's been going on for 2 months. It's officially concluded. What are your thoughts overall about the tournament, and how do you think it compared to the last year as well?
The growth from last year has been exponential. And a lot of that has to do with, one, the learning curve of this being the second over the first, the timelines, and now having all the approvals earlier, being able to start earlier, conversations with the publishers now that they already know the IP, that we have a history there, with the teams, now that they know what we're doing and they know what the plans are, being a part of it, a little bit more hands-on. The growth in and of it, in its entirety has been something that I'm very proud of. And the team working on it. We've had some growth in our team, so it's been easier to handle. Not easy, but easier. And just being able to keep the focus, which I've tried to do from the very beginning of the Federation, keep the focus and the finger on the pulse of the community and the players. We try every year to enhance their experience. One of the things I consistently say when I meet our players at the tournaments and also here locally is our players are not a product. They are a stakeholder. But I know if we give them the best experience, we will get the best product out of it. And they are the main stakeholder in that. So keeping that focus and being able to hear more, having more people show up, being able to learn more from them. Because really, anything you need to know, this community, and the gaming community especially, will tell you very quickly everything you need to know. So I said, overall, I enjoyed it. I am proud of what we've done, and I look forward to the growth we have in the future.
Is there something in particular that you've taken from Gamers 8 then that you want to kind of push on for, next year when you do the festival?
Yes, everything. There's, I would like to see, better production. Production was great. I have no issues with the production, but I want to push the boundaries a little bit more. I would like to see some more innovation on the things that we're doing around it. One of the innovations that we've done here is changing the way esports tournaments are done, in that traditionally you go to an esports tournament, you watch, you go home. And really the experience on the stream is generally much better than the experience live. We wanted to change that here, where the experience in the arena was just as good as your experience on stream at home. But the festival around it is something that you want to be a part of all day. So you can come, spend the whole day there. You can eat, you can learn, you can have fun, you can watch a concert. You can spend the whole day there as a family. You can bring the kids, you can bring the parents. There's something for everyone to do. But also, I want to push that boundary next year. I want the experience in location to be better than the stream, not as good as. And all of these things are, working within the bounds of what's in technology, what's coming up, what's in the future. Working within the bounds of what the publisher will allow for their brand, because at the end of the day, they are a stakeholder as well. And that learning process of what boundaries can you push, where do you need to pull back here to add here, and really just the learning process. Everything we do every day, we are learning, we are adapting, and we are getting better. And I want to make sure that we keep that ethos of getting better and learning into next year as well.
So I really want to talk about the investment into esports from Saudi Arabia. Why has Saudi Arabia chosen to invest in esports and gaming, particularly when, let's be honest, there are countries now who are starting to shy away from that investment?
Well, one of the things that we have here, we have a very strong community. 68% of the population consider themselves gamers. So it is imperative to, again, when you listen to the community, the majority of our population are our community. So to build something that they want to be a part of, we also look at what's happening with Vision 2030, the diversification of the economy, the growth of the gaming industry that was very, very nascent, not just in Saudi, but here as a region. And not just here as a region, but also, and adjacent to us, you have the growth in Africa, which is a huge area of growth. And the ability to do something that can really bring the whole region up together. And when we talk about what we're doing here in Saudi, it's never about just Saudi. It's always about the region. Because if we don't come up together, then we're missing something in that. But what we want to create is that global hub for gaming and esports. And I'm not naive to say that we're going to be the only one, but we want to be one of the global hubs. When you talk about gaming, there's certain places that, come off the top of your head. South Korea, Japan, LA or Burbank, certain places in Europe. I want Saudi to be on that list where when you think about gaming, it's one of the places you think about. Now you ask why. We have a population that's interested. We have a community that's strong, that is passionate. We have a government that is willing to back and take a bet on this. And we have the economy that wants to diversify into this as an industry. And so all of these things come together to create a perfect storm where this is an area of growth for this as an industry. And what the conversation that we are changing is, when we first got started, we always got asked the question, why? And now we're getting asked the question, why not? Why aren't I there? Why aren't I growing there? Why am I not doing something in this as a region? Why am I not a part of this growth there? And that's where we want to switch the conversation to. Not why are we doing this, but why aren't you a part of this?
Yeah, perfect. I think you've answered the question perfectly there. I do want to talk about wider global community concerns that have been discussed online or through communities, particularly with Saudi Arabia's LGBTQ plus current laws that they have, with esports being known as an inclusive sport, which is for everyone. I believe it's something that even you're championing yourselves. How do you kind of respond to those criticisms, especially with Saudi Arabia investing in major stakeholders globally and wanting to host live global events?
So for me, the two things I would say there is, one, the investments that we've made globally are not to Saudiize the industry. That is never the intention. Our intention is to be an additive part of this industry, to be a spur of growth in this as an industry. And one of the things we say is, for example, Savvy Games Group is not a Saudi gaming company. It is a gaming company that is based in Saudi. And so our investments in ESL, in a number of other companies, Scopely, for example, is not about taking those companies, bringing them here and making everything they do, culturally Saudi. What our aim to do is be an additive investor and say, what could you do if your outlook was not the next quarter or the next year, but the next 10 years? How would that change the way you do business? Not as a Saudi company, but as ESL, as Scopely. We didn't purchase them to change who they are. We purchased them to help them grow and become who they could become. And as opposed to the other issues, if you look at the live events here, we are welcoming everyone who would like to come. We are not excluding anyone. We are not pushing anyone. We are very welcoming by nature. And that has been shown in our current events, that has been shown in our past events, and we look to show that more in the future. And the one thing I would say there is, don't take my word for it, and don't take the word of anyone you hear outside. Come here and see for yourself, and I promise you, when you see, you will leave with a different impression than you think before you come to Saudi.
So in a way, is it kind of like show, don't tell, essentially? It's like you're trying to show these events and the openness of...
Well, I love conversations. I love having conversations. I love meeting people. But I think action is more important. And I always want to undersell and over-deliver. Always. And that's bearing in mind what we're selling is very what's the right word? Ambitious. And everything we're doing, from our national strategy to what we're doing in esports, we're very ambitious. But we are constantly underselling what we think we can do, and we're overachieving on what we do on the back end. But the key to it is, and the key to everything we've done, is our main stakeholder and our main objectives to do what's right by the players and by the community. And the one thing I will say is if you come here, if you take the opportunity to come here and see for yourself the efforts that are being put behind this and what we're doing on the ground and who this community is, I promise you, you will leave with a different impression than what you think if you've never been here before.
I guess the kind of like final few questions with that, and well spoken about, especially with the concerns, and I appreciate your openness about that, is talking about the grassroots and local scene within esports as well. How is Saudi Arabia looking to bolster the grassroots scene, and also, you know, kind of adjacent to that, the women's scene in Saudi Arabia?
Well, those are two of the core competencies of what we do as a federation. So we're launching a number of initiatives with the Ministry of Education, for example, at school and university level, to educate people on not just this as an industry, but how do you become a professional esports player? You know, create that next generation. We also have a number of initiatives at the Federation for current players. How do you become a professional with our local academy? How do you become a coach? How do you become a referee? We have an incentive system for how do you build a team? How do you bring in players? Legally, how do you structure your contracts as a player and as a team? How do we help you along that pathway? But also, how do you go to international tournaments? How do you be a part of the international community, the international scene? And how can we help you get there? And on the men's side and on the women's side, we have a lot of work not creating the infrastructure, because the infrastructure is there, but creating the heroes to showcase that this is a viable career path for you as an individual. I can speak until I'm blue in the face, but I am not the person that they should look up to as a hero, because I am not the professional gamer. What they need is people who can showcase that this is a career path for you. We need our young men and our young women, and God bless them, they are taking the lead. We have our Valorant team in women is doing amazing work. We have our FIFA champion during Gamers 8 had a competition where she put up 1,000 reals to anyone who could beat her in FIFA. And she went undefeated, men and women, to showcase we have the talent. My problem here is not do we have the talent to compete, it's how do I showcase the talent and how do I give them the capabilities to be on the main stages and get to the international competitions. And that is what I'm very proud of, is giving them the spotlight to showcase the talent that they have, not that I've created, that they have, and I just have the opportunity to showcase that. But that grassroots growth at university level, our open league, our university leagues, our career pathway development that we're working with players and teams to create the next generation, to help this generation grow. But also, what do they do after they're finished playing? How do they get into this as an industry? How do they get into other industries? Do they want to be an investor? Do they want to be a coach? Do they want to be a team owner? I mean, there's so many possibilities. And we're trying to work with them to figure out what do they need so we can create what's best for them.
Perfect. Prince Faisal, genuinely, it's a pleasure to be speaking to you. And we could have probably talked we'll do a podcast or something like that eventually. But
yeah, I mean, this is something I'm very passionate about. I love talking about it. And it was a pleasure being here with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.